Over the last several months, I've shared with you a ton of different free to earn crypto opportunities. Now, some of these are for airdrops, others are for passive income, but all of these require nothing to get started. But a lot of you have been asking questions such as, well, how are you participating in these without compromising your primary computer? Or how do you avoid putting your main crypto wallet at risk? Those are all great questions. And to answer those, I'm going to release a 3-part mini-series giving you all my tips, all my tricks, and exactly how I'm able to earn from all these different projects at multiple locations. That's just going to multiply my paydays. Now, the best part about this is you don't have to go out and buy special hardware. In fact, most of my devices are from pieces I have lying around from 10-year-old computers I Frankenstein together. But if you do want to pick up an inexpensive device to mine these crypto projects, I purchased this mini computer from Amazon for $249, and it's been working great for the last 3 months. I'll put a link in the description down below to the exact one I'm running. But make no mistake, for most of these, I'm using pieces and parts from 10-year-old computers, and that's what we're going to set up in this. So let's break down this 3-part mini-series. So in part 1, we're going to be utilizing Windows and Chrome to set up a remote computer operation. That way, we can set up these devices off-site and only have to plug in a power cord and a network cable. From there, we'll control everything else from our primary computer. Now, to do the setup, we'll be using Windows and Chrome. Simplest things that most of us have access to. So nothing special and nothing we have to go out and buy. The second part, we're going to start onboarding these different crypto projects. Now, many of these are going to be web-based, and I'll show you how to install them individually on your web browser. Now, part 3 is going to be installing the more complicated programs. That's where we'll be downloading the programs onto these machines and getting them up and running, as well as installing Docker Desktop and installing different Docker images so we can earn from those as well. So, as you can tell, we've got a lot to do on this, so that's why I decided to break it up into 3 parts. Now today, we're going to start part 1. So if you're ready to get started, let's go ahead and dive in our 10-year-old machine and get it set up for remote operations. Now, before we get started, I want to prove to you that this really can be done with some old dinosaur parts you find lying around in the garage. So this is what I was able to Frankenstein together. As you can see, there's no graphics card. It's got onboard graphics on the motherboard. This is an old Athlon 8-core, 8-thread processor. This is even before the Ryzen series was invented. We got about 16 gigs of RAM sitting in here, and I found an old 240 gigabyte SSD drive sitting around the garage. So as you can see, nothing special here. These really are dinosaur parts you can pick up from a yard sale or just about anywhere. So now let's go ahead and dive in and start configuring this guy for remote operations. Okay, so to get started in our remote computer, the first thing we have to do is access the BIOS for that computer. This is where you will have to set it up at home to get it configured. So hook it up to a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse, and let's get in the BIOS system. Now to do that, typically when you hit the power button, a lot of times you can just start hitting the delete button on your keyboard, and that will automatically take you into the system BIOS. Now, if it doesn't, make sure to read the prompts at the bottom of your screen, and it'll usually tell you whether it's an F12 or an F8 or one of those functions. But once you get in the BIOS, what we have to do here is make sure to turn on the power management features for systems like Wake-on-LAN signal. That means if we ping out from our main system to the remote system, it will receive that signal and wake the computer up. We also want to make sure it never goes to sleep. Now, given this is such an old BIOS, I mean, this thing's 10 plus years old, it doesn't have a lot of the new fancy features like the mini PC does. But we can still find some workarounds to make sure this computer is never offline for long. So let's head over into the power management system, and then we're going to scroll down and we're going to go to the PME event wake up. We're going to make sure that that one is enabled. Okay. And next thing we're going to do, we don't want power on by mouse or by keyboard, but since this doesn't have a Wake-on-LAN setting, but I want to make sure the computer's never off, I'm going to create an alarm for it. So what I'm going to do is go down here to power on by alarm, and I'm going to go ahead and enable that. Then I'm going to tell it every day at midnight, if it is turned off, to turn that computer on. That way it's up and running. That way, no matter what, when I try to remote into it, if for some reason I can't access it, instead of having to drive all the way out there to hit the power button, I can simply wait a little bit, and I know this will turn on every day at midnight, so I can go in, check it, update it, do whatever I need to do. So once you have those Wake-on-LAN settings enabled, and make sure this computer is not going to go to sleep, go ahead and hit F10, and it's going to say save to CMOS and exit. And yes, we do. And as you can see right there, this thing is from 2011. Check that out. That's how old this poor dinosaur is. But hey, we're still going to make it work for us. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and boot into our Windows system. Now, I will let you know I did a fresh install of Windows 10 Professional. And I'll put a link in the description down below to how to do that. Now, I will let you know it tells you need a CD key to go through this process, but honestly, I didn't have a CD key. So I went ahead, put it on the USB drive, and installed it on my system. Now, when it boots up, it will ask you, do you have a CD key? Simply tell it no, and it will proceed with the install just fine. Now, if you do want to go ahead and get a Windows CD key, I recommend check out Groupon. I bought several of them from Groupon for about $12 a piece, and so far they've worked great. So if you really want to get a registered version of Windows, that's a couple ways you can do it to save yourself some money. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to configure Windows to never go to sleep. We don't want it to turn off our display or go to sleep, and we want to adjust the power settings to make that happen. So to do that, go ahead and hit your Windows key, and then you start typing power. And it's going to say power and sleep settings, or you can always go into the settings tab into power and sleep. Now, once you're here, you can see when plugged in, turn the monitor off, and we want to set that to never. Okay. Also, when to put the computer to sleep, also set that to never. And then performance energy. Now, since this doesn't have a graphics card, we're not doing high calculated mining with a ton of GPUs. It's not going to use a lot of power. I mean, the power supply was only yay big. So we're going to go ahead and put this up on best performance to give this old dog just a little bit more oomph to it. Now, once we've got those set, we're good to go ahead and close that out. Okay, now that we told it to never go to sleep, we need to tell Windows when to wake up. So to do that, we're going to go back in, we're going to push our Windows key and X on our keyboard. That's going to take us into Device Manager, or we can simply search for Device Manager. Now, once we're here, we want to go down into our network adapter. So scroll down until you see network adapter. So right there, we're going to go ahead and expand that. And as you can see, there's a lot of different network adapters. Now, we know we're going to connect this with an Ethernet cable. So we're going to go into the property of our Realtek PCIe GPU family controller. That's our primary network controller built on the motherboard. So we're going to go ahead and right click on that, and we want to go to properties. Now, once we're in properties, go ahead and click on the advanced tab. And what we're going to do is scroll down, and we're looking for Wake-on Magic Packet. Go ahead and click on that guy and make sure the value is enabled. If it's not enabled, go ahead and enable it now. Once you have that enabled, go ahead and click OK, and go ahead and close Device Manager. Now that means when we send it a packet from our home computer, wherever it is in the world, it will automatically wake up Windows. Okay, so now that we've told our computer it needs to wake up Windows if it does a restart and we call out to it, say, hey, time to wake up after you restart, it's going to go ahead and perform the way we want it to. Now the question is, how do we send that packet to that computer? Well, this is where it gets a little more complicated because there are two main configurations we can have here. The first is a local setup. Now this means that this remote computer will be somewhere on my personal network here at home. Now that way, when I send a wake up signal, the only thing I'm going to need to wake that up is the MAC address of that specific device. Now this is going to vary if I put it in an offsite location, meaning in a friend's house or a parent's house or someone else. That's when I'm going to have to not only have their MAC address, but I'm also going to need their public IP address so I know where to send that packet to. So depending on your configuration, there are two different pieces of information we're going to need. Now, the first thing we've got to get, of course, is the MAC address because we require that for both of these setups. So to do that, jump over into Windows and down in the search bar, type in CMD. And that's going to open a list. And what we want to do is open Command Prompt. So once you see right there, go ahead and click on Command Prompt. Now, once this opens, what we want to type in the field is IPCONFIG space /ALL. IPconfig all. Type that in and hit enter. Now, this is going to give you all the information for your network card in that computer. Now, it's really important to understand that every piece of device on the internet should have a unique MAC address. So if we look down here where it says physical address, you'll see 6 blocks of numbers and letters combined, 2 digits per block. So write down that physical address right now on a notepad or piece of paper, somewhere to keep it safe, because that is your unique identifier for that particular computer. And once you have that written down, go ahead and close the command prompt box. Okay, so now that we've got pretty much everything configured on this computer for remote operation, I will let you know there is one more final step we'll have to do, but we're going to wait until we actually set this computer up at the remote location. That's when we'll finalize all the remote settings and get it up and operational. So we'll do that at the very end of this video. But for right now, we need to go in and create our Google account because that's what we're going to be utilizing to remote in with. Now, if you already have a Google account, not a problem, because you can actually run multiple Google accounts from one single computer. I can tell you on my personal computer, I'm running on 9 different Google accounts, and it's really simple to switch between them. But the big thing here is every computer we're going to set up remotely will be running on its own dedicated Google account, because that is how we're going to remote into it. So let's get started. Now, if you already have Google installed on your machine, that's great. If not, open any browser, go ahead and install Google Chrome. So let's go ahead and open up Google Chrome here. Now we want to create a dedicated account for this particular computer. So to do that, we're going to go up to the address bar and just go google.com. Now, when we get to the Google page, you can see here at the top right, it says sign in. Now, if you're already running a Google account on this particular machine, go ahead and click sign out and then go back to google.com and it'll look just like this. So let's go ahead and click that sign in button. But instead of actually signing in, we want to use another account. So we're going to go and click on that. We don't have another account set up as of yet. So we want to go down here to the bottom and tell it to create an account. Then it's going to ask, is this for personal use, for my child, for work or business? We're going to say for personal use. Now it's going to ask us for our first and last name. So I'm going to go ahead and put the name as Remote PC2 because it doesn't have to have a real name. Then I'm going to go and click next. The next thing it's going to ask for is our birthday. Now you can put your birthday or any birthday you want, but for security reasons, I do recommend utilize yours because you may have to use that to verify your account later on. So I'm going to go ahead and use my birthday here. Gender, I'm going to go ahead and say male because I don't mind telling people, and click next. Next, it's going to ask me to create a Gmail account. Now, this is one of those where pick something it's going to be relevant to you. So I can either use the ones they're suggesting or create my own Gmail address. So I'm going to go ahead and create my own. And I'm going to call this Remote PC 2 Moms. There we go, because this one's going to go to Mom's house where I'll set this up remotely. So it would be Remote PC2 Moms at gmail.com is the email it's going to make for me. If I'm good with that, go ahead and click next. Last thing, of course, we have to set a password for that particular Gmail and Google account. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that password twice. Once I've got it, go ahead and click next. Now, the next thing it wants to do is send you a verification to your cell phone number. Now, this is really important. Gmail will let you have multiple Gmail accounts on one cell phone number. So if you've already got one Gmail, don't worry too much about it. The research I've been doing is telling me anywhere from 5 to 7 Gmail accounts per phone number. So that's 5 to 7 different computers I can set up remotely utilizing one phone number. So I'm going to enter my phone number. Once I've got that entered, go ahead and click next. Okay, now it's going to send me a confirmation on my cell phone. Then when you get the number from your cell phone, go ahead and enter that in this field here and click next. Then it's going to ask us for a recovery email address. Now this is where I like to use one of my main email addresses just in case I lose the password or I forget what that email address was. I can always get back into it with my primary one. So I'm going to go and enter the Down Home Crypto one. Once I've got that entered, go ahead and click next. And there you go. Now it's confirming your email address and your recovery phone number. If all that looks good, go ahead and click next. Privacy terms and conditions. As always, I recommend reading through those, but if you've been using Google for a while, you're probably pretty familiar with them. If you're okay with them, go ahead and click I agree. And confirm personalization. You can change this in other settings by selecting more options below. Okay, I confirm that. And there we go. Congratulations, you have a brand new Chrome account set up on your remote computer. Now what we need to do is go in and get a few extensions. So the easiest way to do that is right up here at the top, you're going to see 3 dots vertically. Go ahead and click on those. Go down to where you see extensions and head over to where it says Visit Chrome Web Store. So let's go in there. Then in the search bar, type Chrome Remote Desktop. And there it is right there. Let's go ahead and click on that. And Chrome Remote Desktop, yes, we want to add that to Chrome because this is how we're going to remote in, which is directly through a Chrome tab. So it says it can manage your downloads, communicate with cooperating native applications. Yes, let's add extension. Okay, then it says Chrome Remote Desktop has been added to Chrome. Awesome. Now, I do like to go in and pin that. That way I always know what extensions I have installed right up here on the address bar. Now, once we pin that, let's go ahead and open the Chrome Remote Desktop. Then it says Set up Remote Access. Lets me know that this computer is shared under a different account. To share under your account instead, click Turn On. This will disable remote access from the other account. Now, that's because I already had a Google Chrome account installed on here. But I want to be remoting in through this particular account for the remote access. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Now it says enter a name for your computer. So this is where it's really important to name it where this thing is going to be set up. So I know this is going to be set up remotely at my mother's location to utilize her IP address. So we're going to say remote from moms. Something very simple. Then go and click next. Now it wants me to enter a PIN number that I'm going to use to access this computer when I remote into it. Now I want you to know that this PIN number has to be at least 6 digits long. And I urge you, please do not use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll pick a PIN number that you're not going to forget, but is secure enough nobody else is going to guess. So once you have that entered twice, go ahead and click start. And it asks, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? And yes, we do. Okay, then once we get that set, it's going to show us that the remote from moms is currently online. Now, this is where we're going to jump into our primary main computer, and we're going to add that Google Chrome account onto our primary system. That's how we're going to remote access into that computer. So let's go ahead and switch over to the main computer and add this Chrome account. Okay, so now that we're over on our primary computer, this is the one I use all the time. In fact, I'm streaming on right now. This is where I want to remote access into that other computer. So we're going to add the Chrome account in. To do that, go ahead and open up your Google Chrome. Now, as you can see, I have several Google Chromes already listed. But right here at the bottom, it says I can add one. So let's go ahead and click the add button. And it says set up your new Chrome profile. Sign in to get your passwords and more on all your devices. Let's go ahead and sign into our new account. Now, we want to enter the email address we created for that other one. So we're going to go and enter that email address, remotepc2moms@gmail.com. Click next, and then enter the password we set up for it. Once you got that password entered, go ahead and click next. There we go. Now we can turn on sync or we can turn it off. But keep in mind, this syncing is only across tabs. So it's not going to affect my other Google Chrome accounts. So yes, I'm going to go and turn it on. That way, whatever I do remotely here will show up over on that computer. Now, once we entered our password, it did give me a quick pop-up setting my color for this particular Chrome account. So I chose this nice emerald green. Kind of reminds me of mom. But now what we need to do is go in and add the remote desktop extension on this Chrome account. That way I can access the other computer. So same way, we're going to go click the 3 buttons here. We're going to go down to extensions and head over to Visit Chrome Web Store. And once again, we're going to type in the search bar Chrome Remote Desktop, and there it is. We're going to go and click on that and add to Chrome. Do we want to add the extension? Yes, please add the extension. There we go. We should be set up. Let's go ahead and pin that again, and let's open it up. Then we open it. It's giving me 2 different options here. We can either utilize this to securely access my computer wherever you are, or share your screen to collaborate in real time, or connect another computer to give or receive remote support. So we're going to go ahead and say access my computer. Now, as you can see right here, we've got remote for moms is already listed as a remote device. That's our remote computer. So let's go ahead and click on it. Now it's asking us for that 6-digit PIN number we entered. So let's enter that. Now you can go ahead and tell it to remember the PIN number on this device or not. That's up to you. I tend to forget things, so I'm going to tell it to remember. So once I entered my PIN number, I'm going to go ahead and tell it to connect. Okay, now give me a pop-up for my passwords. No, we're not going to save that. It says remotedesktop.google.com wants to see text and images copied to the clipboard. Yes, we do want to allow that because I want to take it from my primary computer into the remote computer. Okay, so now that it's connected, let's take a closer look at this window because it can get very confusing very fast. So let's take a look at the bottom. Right here at the very bottom, you see this is my primary computer's Windows bar. So it's got all the programs, everything I'm running on this system. Right above that is the remote computer's Windows bar. So as you can see, I've got a Google Chrome here, I've got a Chrome over here. I mean, it can be very confusing very, very fast. So here's a trick to make this really simple. Go ahead and click inside the tab somewhere and hit F11 on your keyboard. That will take that tab to full screen mode. Now, I'm actually operating the remote computer just like I was sitting at it. The great thing is, I can close Chrome. I can close everything, and I'm operating that remote computer as if I've got the keyboard and mouse right in front of me. Okay, so now that we have the remote system set up, we know it works, we're connected to it, and it's all working great. But of course, the big problem here is what happens when that computer restarts or shuts off from a power outage or something. Well, that's where we have our final step we've got to configure for remote operation. Now, if you're setting this up here at your house, if it has a power outage or something, you can simply walk over and turn the power button on. Now, once it does a restart, even if you haven't logged into Windows, you can still remote into it. And I'll show you here real quick. So let's go ahead and do a power cycle on this guy. So we're going to go start, power, and we're going to go ahead and go restart. Now, as you can see, it says it's restarting. We're going to hit F11. Once again, we're in the tab still, and that remote PC is restarting. Let's give it a minute to fully power up, and then we'll see if we can go and remote back into it. Okay, now that we told the computer to restart, you can see it's rebooting. But what we want to find out is, do you have to log into Windows to get your remote connection to operate? Well, we're going to find that out right now. So we're going to let it boot up into Windows, right to the login screen where we would normally have to log in. Okay, so here we are. This is where we would normally click on the screen, enter our PIN number, log in, whatever. But instead, we're going to head straight back over to our primary computer, and we're going to click once again the remote for Mom's PC. Now, as we saw, we have not logged into Windows at all. And as soon as we connect, as you can see, even though we're not logged into Windows, Google Chrome Remote Desktop still connects. Then I can log in from my primary computer. Enter PIN number, and there we go. We're right back where we were. To get back into full screen mode, click off the screen and hit F11. So even if you do have to power cycle your computer, as long as it powers back on, you can remote in just fine. You don't have to log into Windows first. Now, the real problem here exists. What happens if there's a power outage? And then when the power comes back on, there's no one there to push the power button. Well, that's where we have to do our final setup I talked about earlier. Now, of course, if you're setting this remote PC up at your home where you can walk over and push the power button, you don't need to worry about this step. This is only if you're going to set this computer up and you're worried about the power going off and not restarting. While in the BIOS, if you remember, we set an alarm to automatically wake this computer up at midnight every single day. So if you're good with waiting till midnight, knowing it's going to turn the computer back on by itself, you can just wait for that to happen, and then you'll be able to remote back in the next day. But if you really want control and you want to be able to send that wake up signal to it, this is where we have to install one more program on our primary system. So let's head back over to our main computer. And to do that, we're simply going to exit out of full screen mode, and we can minimize this just like any other Chrome tab. So let's go ahead and open up a Chrome tab on our primary computer, and I'm going to go to my main Google account. And then we're going to search for a program called EasyWOL and hit enter. There we go. EasyWOL, Wake-on-LAN. So we can get that right from the Microsoft Store. So let's go ahead and click on that to open the Microsoft Store. And then we're going to go ahead and download that program. Okay, so once our download is complete, let's go ahead and open our downloads folder and click on the EasyWOL installation file. It says EasyWOL Wake-on-LAN, starting downloads and installing. And then it opens up this white pop-up box here, which is pretty blank looking. It really is a pretty small program. So what we want to do is add a device that we're going to send that Wake-on-LAN signal to. So to do that, let's go ahead and click the plus symbol here. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to name it. So we're going to call this Mom's Remote PC. Then remember the MAC address we got earlier. We're going to have to put that in this field here. Okay, so once we have the MAC address installed, this next field of broadcast, this is really important. Now, if this remote PC is going to be within your home network, the same one your primary computer's on, then you can just leave broadcast on. That means it's going to ping out across your personal network for a wake-up signal. Now, if you're going to put this offsite, that's where we have to get one more piece of information. So if it's offsite, we're going to turn the broadcast to off. And that's going to add another field here called the IP address or DNS address. Now, this IP address field, they need the public IP address for the network of where you're going to set up that remote PC, because that is where it's going to send that Wake-on-LAN signal. Now, if you got a friend that's really tech savvy and you can ask them, hey, what's your public IP address? And they can find it sent to you, that's great. But where I'm going to set up this remote PC is down at Mom's house. She's not the most tech savvy. So instead, what I'm going to do is go ahead and move this remote PC over there, plug in the power and the Ethernet, and simply turn it on. Because I already know if it's powered up, I can automatically remote into it, and I can go in and get all the information I need directly from that remote PC as it's already on that network. So let's go ahead and get this moved over and get it powered up. Okay, here we are at Mom's house. We've got our computer plugged in, the network cable connected, and turned on. That's all we got to do. Now let's head home and set it up. Okay, now that we're back from Mom's, let's go ahead and finish this setup process. So let's go ahead and minimize all these tabs so far. Let's open the remote connection again and make sure we're still good. Remember, we did turn it on over at Mom's. So remote for Mom's, let's go ahead and click into that. It says connecting. And there we go. We're right back to the sign-in screen for Windows. So let's go ahead and get signed in. So enter our PIN number, and we're right back where we were. We're going to bring up our Easy WOL application because we still have to fill in this IP address field. But the great part here, so we head back into the tab, and on the remote computer at mom's house, we open up a tab over there. Then we type in, what is my IP address? Okay, and bring up the website. What is my IP address? Let's go ahead and click on that. And there we go, right there, IPv4, that is her public IP address. So we're gonna go ahead and copy this IP address. We're gonna open EasyWL and paste that into that field. Now it's asking for port 9 or port 7. Now this is dependent on your router and how you configure that. Now if this wake up signal does not go through, we might have to put in a port forwarding rule on her router. The great thing is we've got a computer already on site, so we can access that and add that port forwarding rule if we decide we need to. So go ahead and leave it on 9 for now and go ahead and click save. Okay, so now that we've got all that set up, if for some reason there's a power outage over at mom's house and I need to wake up that computer, all I have to do is open EasyWL and click the power button right here. That will send the wake up signal over to that public IP address to that specific MAC address and tell that computer to wake up. So there you go. Even if it doesn't wake up by alarm, I've got another way to wake it up. Best part about it now is I am sitting here in the office controlling a computer that's across town at mom's house. So this is how we avoid having one IP address per mining machine. Okay, I think we have finally arrived. Everything is done. Our remote system is up and ready to start earning. Now I know this has been a very long video and I want to say thank you for sticking with me to the end. I really wanted to make sure that everybody could follow along and I answered all of the technical questions to the best of my ability. But if there are any questions or problems you run into, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them as quick as I can. Or if you need a little personal help, jump in the Down Home Crypto Discord. I'm always in there and always willing to help. But keep an eye out for part 2 where we start onboarding all these different crypto projects. However, if you like this kind of content and you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to keep bringing you the best crypto information I can. I want to thank you very much for your time. And until next time, have a great night.